There's a white man named Chris who was silently deported from Detroit and never to be heard from again until now. Now, Chris spent his life as a merchant marine, okay? And like many urban dwellers, yeah, he worked on the docks, you know what I mean? Like many urban dwellers of Italian descent before him, Chris washed up on the shores of the western suburbs following a spasm of racial animus and antagonism 5 years ago during the Summer of Floyd. The bust of Christopher Columbus, 115, was dethroned by Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, who, fearing the flames, had it quietly removed from its longtime perch at the corner of Jefferson Avenue and Randolph Street. It was sealed in a wooden crate and squired to a shabby warehouse on the city's east side. Now, Duggan promised a discussion about an appropriate future for the bronze bust. Instead, the pedestal's gotten bulldozed. Columbus was unearthed by a group of Italian Americans 3 years ago and currently resides on loan in the basement of a banquet hall at a conference center near I-275 and 5 Mile Road. We've had no intellectual reckoning about the appropriateness of our public symbols since then, as Duggan promised. Only tear gas and nihilism. There's been no discourse about the deeds of Columbus himself. The city council unilaterally changed the name from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, as I told you, promising a memorial to Native Americans. But that too has not been discussed. It's not been built. Chief Pontiac is the only Native American who occupies a place of prominence in Detroit. His likeness can be found just over there, downtown here, on the pediment of the Book Cadillac Hotel. It's important to tell you that Pontiac was clubbed to death in 1769. Now, there's no need to worship these symbols, just as there is no need to destroy them. America is the greatest experiment in human history. It is a nation that has not reached its full greatness, but marches towards it with a speed no culture has ever known before. To bury the past is to destroy the future. Why not layer new symbols upon the old? Columbus here, Pontiac there, MLK there, and whatever the future may hold. After all, a tree without roots is simply wood. It's worth remembering that one of the most consequential periods of indigenous history in North America is the Columbian era of conquest. This ought to be taught in our schools, and yet our public schools collapse, and our kids can't even read a history book if they wanted to. So who's taken to the streets to protest this? And what of the other contradictory symbols that remain throughout the metro region? General Anthony Wayne, General Lewis Cass, and Chief Justice Augustus Woodward were all slaveholders. And their names and memorials and statues remain. Edward McNamara, the former Wayne County executive whose name is affixed to a terminal at Metro Airport, is said to have been facing corruption indictments until he died. Henry Ford was a virulent anti-Semite. I could go on. Now, Ken and I were going to make this little piece we're going to show you after this, and we went to where the pedestal used to be. I was going to get up on the pedestal, but the pedestal's gone. But you know who was there was Albert Richardson. He's known around here as Slim. You know, he got cleaned up. It's cool. He was living in the bushes, living on top of the parking garage, living underneath Hart Plaza. Got it together, got a settlement. He actually had a $6,000 check and wanted me to cash it. Fuck out of here. But he's a great guy and known him a while. Now, Slim told me he used to love to play chess under the Columbus statue. He said, I mean, you got to teach history, not hide it. That's what Slim said. He pointed across Jefferson Avenue, where an imposing figure of George Washington stands. And Slim said to me, what are we going to do? Tear that motherfucker down too? Anyway, we found him. We found Columbus. And we interviewed Columbus. Roll it.
Remember 5 years ago during the Summer of Floyd, and Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan got afraid of the protesters, so he decided to take down the statue of Christopher Columbus without telling anyone? And you might remember that Mayor Mike Duggan said this.
We should have a conversation as a community as to what is the appropriate place for such a statue.
Well, we never had that discussion.
Columbus and his pedestal just disappeared. But we found him. He's living in the basement of a banquet hall in Livonia, near the highway.
Chris, is that you?
Well, who else would it be? Pizarro? That guy was a real douchebag. He'd steal the gold from his mother's own mouth. Oh, by the way, you've got a very nice mustache. It reminds me of my grandmama.
Well, how you doing in there?
It's a little bit cold, and they overcooked the mustacholi. But what are you gonna do? It beats the Manugian mansion.
How'd you end up in a banquet hall in Livonia?
I had to get out of the city quick. Too many hipster rioters there during Floyd. And it turns out the hipsters live out here, in their mother's basements.
Well, how do you feel about being kidnapped and shipped to the burbs without anybody knowing?
It's outrageous. They call me a racist, but Duggan is the one from Livonia who bled Detroit dry, and now he wants to go to Lansing and bleed Livonia dry. He's worse than Pizarro. But it's really not so bad. They've got a lot of good Indian food around here now.
Okay, thank you for your time, Signore.
Wait, don't leave me here. I miss the pigeons and the smell of souvlaki from Greektown.
Opa!